G'day. So yesterday I had the pleasure of a couple of mates who are veterans joining me to do a Memorial Day on Memorial Day to do a military appreciation show. It was an idea that came to me kind of last minute, and but lucky that a couple of good friends joined me. Um, we had lined up Peter from Veteran MX to jump on the show. Unfortunately, he had just trouble with the bad connection with his cell service. He'd been out the track and was pretty busy, and I'm very grateful for his time and trying to get on. Just sort of touch on that, so that sort of makes sense why, because I say in the show he's coming on and then he doesn't come on. But we'll definitely have a probably just a show with Peter and maybe another guy or whatever. But we'll have a show based around Veteran MX coming up in the near future. I also mentioned in the show that we're going to have a giveaway of a gut seat cover to a veteran or veteran's family. So here's the details of that. So just to make sure that's clear. So what I want you to do, if you watch the show or listen to the show and you are a vet, hit me up via, you can email me, which is AussieSteve569@gmail.com. AussieSteve569@gmail.com. Or you can hit me up on Instagram. So just on the show Instagram, which is The Outside Gate. That's an easy one to find. My other Instagram is AussieSteve_dirtbikes. That's the one where I post a lot of vintage pictures and vintage ads, a lot of vintage ads. If you like that sort of cool stuff, that was sort of my first, media thing that I got fired up, and it's got a lot of followers and it's been fun. So hit me up on any of those, and just give me a little story. You know, I love a story. Just a little story, a little write up on who you are. Just a brief on your military service, your military career, and tell us about where you ride. You know, your riding. Tell us about moto, or even if you're a vet who's not riding but your kids are riding, basically that's it. Yeah, just tell us about yourself. I'm going to then compile those, and Cody and Felipe, who were the vets who helped with the show yesterday, who are a couple of my good friends, they are going to just choose someone, whoever probably touches their heart, I guess, to choose someone. And then Andy from Guts Racing, he loves the idea. So we'll get a gut seat cover out to that person, whoever wins that. So make sure you get around that. Also, while I'm doing this little introduction, hey, I forget to say like and subscribe to the channel every single show that I'm supposed to do. The guys at L4 Media who help me out tell me to say like and subscribe. I forget to do it every single show. So I just thought of it then, so I better say it. I hope you enjoy the show. This was probably one of the most fun shows I have done. It's very different. We obviously talk about a little bit about moto, about the guys talk about their time in the military, and they talk about one thing that's me and Felipe and Cody really connect on is mental health struggles. They like a lot of vets, like most vets, they've had some mental health struggles after being in the military, and I personally have dealt with a lot of issues like that, even though I'm not a vet. That's the sort of thing that touches everyone. We end up going pretty deep on a lot of that sort of stuff. As you know, my show is very organic. So it ends up, the second half of the show is almost a mental health advice show. So if you like that sort of stuff, we don't go too deep. Don't be too sort of freaked out that we're going to talk about anything too full on or nasty, but it gets deep, yeah. So I hope you really enjoy it as much as I do. And absolutely, if you're a vet, even if you know a vet who's and especially a vet dad and he's struggling to pay for his kids to race and they got ratty seat covers, you tell them to watch the show, watch or listen to the show, and get in on the competition. And also thanks hugely to Guts Racing for being a sponsor. Gutsracing.com is the website. They are the best seat covers in the world. You can look at MXGP, the Aussie Nationals. I bet they're winning stuff in Canada as well. I bet they're winning stuff in England, and they're certainly winning stuff in the US. Poor old RJ. RJ unfortunately met with a rock on press day. We won't talk about that, but he lit the flames on that Supercross title on his gut seat. So does the guys on Hep Suzuki. Chiz is out there chizzing. Moto Concepts Honda, AO KTM, PRMX Kawasaki, Next Level KTM, countless privateers, Phoenix Honda, Dylan's back out there on a gut seat cover. Just goes on and on. Phil was running around in second place off that good start. He got the grip from the gut seat cover on that good start for that second moto there, where he passed Hunter Lawrence because of the grip from that gut seat cover. So there you go. I'm sure he'd vouch for that. I hope you enjoy the show as much as I do. I'll stop rambling. I've got to go head off to my day job, and I will get this show out later on today for you guys to enjoy. Thank you very much. Something different for show 38. It's my pleasure to be joined by my two good friends, Bojo and Felipe, who are both veterans. And I had an idea. We put this together pretty quick. I had an idea to do a military appreciation day. And then I thought, what better timing than to do it for Memorial Day? And I'll just introduce the guys. Bojo, Cody Bojorquiz. Did I say your surname right?
Bojorquiz. Very close, though.
Bojorquiz. Nearly got it right. Yeah,
close.
But I always know you as Bojo. Do you want to just give you a bit of a brief introduction of who you are and your military service?
Yeah, my name's Cody. I grew up in the dirt bike scene, born and raised in Southern California. Spent a lot of time riding in Ocotillo Wells, Glamis. Didn't really hit up any of the tracks down there too much growing up, but grew up in that local SoCal desert scene. After high school in 2010, I enlisted in the Marine Corps for 5 years as a F-18 avionics technician. And I exited the Marine Corps in 2015. And around 2014 was the last time I touched a dirt bike, actually. And since then, I've been living up in northern Idaho, just trying to kind of navigate life and figure out what kind of suits me after life in the military.
Cool, man. Awesome. We're going to get into some good topics today, but we'll introduce our next guest. He's probably the best looking guy we've ever had on the show for a start. It is my mate Felipe Peters. How are you, dude?
Hey, I'm good, Steve. So glad and thankful to be here, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you for this.
Yeah, no worries, man. Do you want to just tell us a bit like Bojo did, just a bit of a brief on what your time in the military?
Yeah, so I did not grow up in the on the West Coast. I grew up in Texas, in the plains of West Texas. So I did not get to ride Ocotillo, Glamis, all this other stuff. I got to ride the ditch. So that's where I rode my dirt bike and my 3-wheelers and 4-wheelers. We had the Quadzilla, we had the LT 250R Suzuki, fast as fuck. You know, the Tecate, we had the 3-wheeler, we had all sorts of crazy stuff we probably shouldn't have had as a kid. I got a KDX 200 as a kid. That was my first dirt bike. I was not allowed to race, but eventually I did race when I moved out. But I grew up there in West Texas, always rode dirt bikes, or that dirt bike, my 200, until I graduated high school and everything. And actually, after I graduated high school, I went to MMI. So I like dirt bikes, motorcycles, whatever, enough to go to Phoenix for a year, which is actually really cool. So I became a Honda certified tech, went back down to Texas, started working on bikes. We were racing, like, I don't know, probably every weekend. So we would race with guys at the shop. We'd race with guys from the other shops. We'd race, and we'd have get-togethers at the shop afterwards. We'd drink some brewskis, work on the bikes, you know, do all that good stuff. Great times. I actually got the mechanic for privateer, if you will. I think it was back in like 2002, I believe, for Dallas Supercross. So that was kind of cool. That was a very eye-opening experience. Seeing, you know, the faces and just kind of seeing the atmosphere is really, really cool. So did that, joined the military. I joined the Army, and so that was 2004. And then I was about 23 years old. And so did that. I did the Army thing for about 15 and a half years, but I spent my first 4 years in Washington State. We went out to Washougal, watched the outdoors races out there. Phenomenal races. Still rode dirt bikes. I had a KTM 125, an 03 actually, that I was riding. I was racing it before I joined the Army. Like I said, did the Army for about 15 years, did 4 in Washington State, did whatever the rest of it here. I'm still here where I retired. My daughter lives here with her mom, so that's where I'm at. I work. I got 3 or 4 bikes in the garage, 2 dirt bikes. The rest are street bikes and whatnot. If it's 2 wheels, I'm in. And yeah, just working and watching my daughter grow up and watching her play a lot of sports right now. So not a lot of time for riding, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. That's fantastic. At some stage, probably fairly soon, we have Peter from Veteran MX is going to jump on the show. You might have seen the Veteran MX guys on they're on Race Day Live there, probably I reckon 2 seasons ago. They had a bit of a spot there. They came on. I think they were talking to Dan Hubbard from memory. Yeah, so that'll be interesting, just about all about what they do, which is, you know, a lot of it is getting veterans on dirt bikes. So it ties in perfectly to what this show's about and what we love. So a little bit about me, for those I figured we might get some listeners possibly interested in the show that might be first-time listeners, you know, who don't sort of know me, because the show's a little different. You might get a slightly different audience. So I'm not a veteran. I always feel I feel like a bit of a fucking pussy when I'm talking to veterans, to be honest. You know, in a lot of times in my life, I feel like I'm a bit of a hard cunt, you know. But when I'm talking to veterans, I feel very inferior, but in a good way. You know. As far as military goes, my grandfather served in the Air Force, World War II. He came home safe. And my great uncle Bert, he died in World War II in Changi prison, which was, I think, New Guinea or somewhere in Southeast Asia. There, a Japanese prisoner of war. He died up there. My dad's middle name is named after Bert. So that's about it for us. We don't have a huge amount in the family. I have a couple of mates who've served. One who's still in since he was 17, and he would be 50 this year. So,
sheesh.
It's a fair stint. And I'm actually going to reference him with one of the questions later on that I have, which is about a conversation I've had with him. So very good. I guess sort of my first topic question thing that I had is, it seems to me that there's there's a real connection. There's a lot of vets who are into moto, and it seems to intertwine a lot. You know, there's a lot of mechanics, and then even like riders' brothers, riders' sisters. There's seems to be a real connection in the sport. Would you guys say that's right, or is that just my outward sort of look that it appears that way, or do you think moto really does have that connection?
You want to go? You want me to go?
No, go ahead, Brojo. You're good.
I think there is a huge correlation between moto and the military service. I think one of the, like, if you're talking directly about the veteran or the service member, I think one of the biggest draws is the adrenaline pump. I think Felipe could attest to that. Like, we're always searching for adrenaline, whether you're jumping out of airplanes, riding a dirt bike, wakeboard, water sports, things like that. We're all kind of addicted to that rush. I could speak just to what my job in the military. If you've seen the movie Top Gun, the guys up on the flight deck waving the little wandy things around,
Yeah.
We were out there. We weren't the wand wavers, sending the jet off, but we were right there 5 feet away when the jet's going high power on dual engines. I mean, you literally would rattle your bones. I felt the teeth rattling around in my jaw. Like, it's so powerful, some of those aircrafts. And you send that jet off knowing it's going to do the job that, you've been working on that aircraft. It's going to do that job it's intended to do. I mean, it's huge adrenaline pump all day long. I think I was talking to a counselor once. She's like, you were just always like peaked on, like your adrenaline was just peaked on, and then you'd crash at the end of the day. Like, it was just on a high of high, and then bam, all the way down to the low of low. So I think that's why there's a huge correlation. Personally, just one of the reasons.
Yeah. What do you think, Felipe?
I would absolutely agree. I think here in America we have. I think in Australia you have a big. I don't want to say a big divide. You see some white collar people riding too, but you see a lot of blue collar people riding. It's just one of those things that you see a lot of blue collar people and a lot of blue collar people are in the military. I grew up blue collar, and I fixed all my own stuff, and so like you said, mechanics, riders, you have all these guys that grow up maybe around it. I did some drag racing growing up too, so engines was always the thing. And so joining the military is the coolest part, because I thought I was gonna drive the tank, fly the plane, be on the boat with Brojo and fly the plane too. And then when we get there, I'm gonna be in the ground in the tank too. And of course, that's what you think when you're 7. So, but then when you join the military, you realize you can only do one at a time. But, like Brojo said, jumping out of planes and all that thankfully I was able to do that. And so with 2 wheels, it gives us an opportunity to take that forward, because, we're not going to experience that. We're not just going to go out next weekend and get on a flight deck of an aircraft carrier and watch FA-18s or 35s just take off the deck, And so we have to find something that still excites us. And motocross can be crazy, it can be scary, and it can be very frustrating. And that's why we do it. That's why we're drawn to it, because we're problem solvers. We love that shit. We just want to get out there and we want to solve problems, but it also helps us solve our problems a little bit as well. So it helps kind of quieten the noise a bit.
Fantastic. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can tell I'm going to love this show. I love it already, hearing these things.
So whether I'm riding on the dirt, I've got a 1980 Z50 as well that I've had for over 20 years that I keep wrenching on and doing parts on and whatnot. And even riding that, working on that, riding my Harley, whatever it is. When I'm on 2 wheels, it seems like that's the only focus, and that's what we need, because all the other stuff that's happening around us, all the thoughts, all the traffic and all that stuff is a lot, it's bullshit. It's just a lot of traffic going in and out, because it's part of who we are at this point. we've gathered all this junk over the years, and we think all these things are important, all these crazy thoughts that are going on in our head, and then the only thing that matters is what? Staying alive on two wheels. And that's what's so great about it, because it's so freeing. And so you realize that, oh shit, I am alive. I'm not worrying about all this other bullshit that's going on around me, because it really doesn't matter.
Would you say
Therapy.
it gives you a bit of perspective on how your life is now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's probably one of the better ways to like shut everything off. Like I can think while I'm riding, but it's much less, and a lot more of the good thoughts and the thoughts that I want to be in there to work things out, you know.
Yeah.
It's a much better therapeutic time.
Yeah. It certainly is, you know, like you guys know I've spoken about, and I've mentioned it on the show lots of times. I have a history of really bad mental health, depression and anxiety, and I've been in a real bad spot before in my younger days, and I still have some scars from that, I guess, and I still regularly get bouts of anxiety. And moto therapy is the best thing, man. It's like as soon as you let that clutch out, man, and it's just everything is good in the world, you know. So it's,
Absolutely, 100%.
It's amazing, bro. Joe, you got to start riding again, man.
Dude, I think 2014, right? It was right before or after I broke my foot or tore the ligaments and stuff in my ankle. I had a 2007 RMZ 450, and I lived in Temecula, right? That's like the mecca of moto community in Southern California. My uncle, he's the one who originally got us into dirt bike riding. Him and my dad grew up riding before SoCal was fully developed, and so he's always had a spot to make sure and kind of hook us up and help us get a good deal on a bike, or he cover the cost of the bike as long as we go riding with him, you know. So I ended up renting a house from him in those last 2 years in the Marine Corps, and right in the heart of Murrieta, Temecula. And he's just like, pretty much the house is coming with a dirt bike, and you're going riding with me. But we didn't go back out to the desert. We didn't go back out to Ocotillo Wells and Glamis. We started going to all the local tracks. His favorite was Cahuilla. So we'd spend a lot of time out there on the weekends, and he was hooked up with I forget the name of it. It's the vintage races out there. They have the booth at all the Supercrosses. The gentleman's name is Frank. He runs it.
Yeah, Legends. Yeah, what's Legends and Heroes.
Something like that.
Legends and Heroes booth. Yeah, those guys.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they'd have like an open class or a modern class, right? So we get out there and enter in the intermediate or whatever, you know, get out there and race with some other old boys and just have fun, you know. It's all it's always about is just having fun, right? You even hear some of the pros are like, I just want to have fun on my dirt bike, right? Like they got one of the most bitching jobs on the planet, yet they're still chasing that fun factor. You know, that to me is what's so cool. You know, you go look at other sports and it's just business, you know. We still got top tier guys. They're just chasing fun, and that's awesome to me.
Yeah, you see him out there, you know, like, do you reckon retired football players are out there playing flag, you know, in their 50s?
No,
you know?
No.
I mean, yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Whereas you get guys, you know, I mean, you can see how huge over 40s, over 50s classes are. You know, it's massive numbers. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah.
Dude, isn't like Loretta's is like huge now, even for like the vet riders. Loretta's is like a big old thing now. You got like was it Jeff Emmix, you know, gets involved, Brown, Kiefer, you know, like I mean, those dudes rip.
Wyndham's got guys out there. He was out at Loretta's this last year. He wasn't racing, I don't believe, but I know he's got guys out there. From his training area or whatever. Training facility, excuse me.
He was teasing a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a big K-Dub fan. I love K-Dub, Laraco, like that's me. That's my era. I love that stuff. I still follow K-Dub. He's always teaching people and whatnot. I love seeing it. And Brojo said something that brotherhood. That's another thing that veterans are looking for, brotherhood. Because you have that when you're in the military and then you get out and you're just kind of like, oh shit, what do I do? You start to find other guys that ride, riding dirt bikes. Oh, hey, yeah, I was a veteran as well, especially around where I live. There's tons and tons of veterans. And so the brotherhood is something that, especially getting out post-military, man, that's one of the biggest things that kills a lot of people because they just kind of worm themselves into a deep, dark hole and they end up just kind of disappearing, whether they commit suicide or just, off the face of the earth as far as you just never hear from them. And so that it helps a lot. So I just had that thought. Sorry.
No, it's all good. That was one of my questions. Was about finding purpose, and this is where I'll tie into my mate Cookie. He's I think he's had his struggles, and sometimes we hear from him a lot. Sometimes we don't hear from him at all. But I remember talking to him about 10 years ago, and he'd done enough time to get like I don't know exactly how the retirement plans work in the Aussie military, but he'd done enough time to be on like the best, like could be set for life, but he said I'm institutionalized. I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't doing this. And that was probably 5 years ago, and he's still in, and that was an interesting thing. Like, he's since he was 17, like he literally left school and mum and dad's house, and still there.
Wow.
He's done I know he's done 3 tours. We're pretty sure he's done ones that he's not allowed to talk about, so he's probably done more. And but that's that always stuck with me, that he didn't know what he was talking about. Oh, maybe I could try this job or that job, but I could just tell he was just had no idea what he was going to do. So that finding purpose, man, that's certainly a thing. I
think that one haunts us all.
Yeah.
I could just speak for myself. I mean, I did a short 5 years, right? 5 years in the perspective of a lifetime. You lived your 80s, 90s if you're lucky. That's a drop in the bucket. I look back, I laugh. I look back in the middle of my service years. I'm like, man, this shit'll never end. It's just going to be forever. 5 years is forever. I've now been out twice as long as I was in. I'm hitting 10 years this next year. That's crazy. Over these last 10 years, one of my biggest struggles is finding purpose, right? Finding some sort of purpose. I've gone from job to job. Starting my own business was the closest thing to kind of give me somewhat of a purpose, kind of force myself to either, feed or starve in a way. So I could totally jump on board with what you're saying as far as struggling to find purpose and being institutionalized. Like I don't know if I'd say he's lucky or unlucky that he's spent a whole career doing it, because I mean, like I said, I did 5 years. I still feel parts of me are institutionalized to the military. That just doesn't leave you. He turned it into a way of life for 20, 25 years, whatever the number is that he's been in there. My uncle, I think, is pushing 20 something years, 25 years or something. I mean, I don't know what he would do afterwards. I think that's just who he is now. I think it'd almost be worse doing the 20 something years and then just getting out and trying to figure out what to do afterwards. Like, I look at my measly 5 years. I'm not the same guy I was at 18 when I enlisted and went to boot camp. I'm not the same guy at 25 when I exited the military. then add 10 more years on top where I'm lost. Like Felipe was saying, you kind of drop all your friends drop you. You kind of lose that brotherhood. So you just feel like a lost puppy, you know? You lead your own mind leads you down to some dark places. Even you know, people go, well, you got a beautiful family, you know, you've been married for over 10 years, you now got 4 kids. Yeah, that's absolutely right, absolutely correct, and I would never trade that for the world. But you still have your deep dark thoughts that enter your head late at night when you can't quiet your mind, you know. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I could totally agree with what you're saying, you know, about your friend or your uncle.
Yeah, well, that's you know, that's what you know. So I guess another thing about me, you know, so my military knowledge isn't strong, but my knowledge of mental health and depression and problems like that is, I would say, is very, very good. And it's not rational. So what you're saying about you are there with your beautiful wife and your beautiful kids and your house and all that, and how it lives like this guy's got it made. But those thoughts and those problems in your head, it's not a rational thing. So none of that really matters to you inside it. You know, it's about getting your shit straight inside your own head and within yourself. And you know, because I remember being at one of my lowest points, and my son was like this when he was little. He was like a kid who would just fucking light up a room. You know, he was like a bundle of joy. He was everybody's favorite kid. You know, like he was just full of beans and a bundle of joy. And I can remember sitting in my lounge room just unbelievably flat and depressed and just like thinking bad thoughts. And there's this bundle of joy jumping from couch to couch in front of me and laughing and wanting to play with me and that sort of stuff. And it's like, it should be like the happiest time of your life. And I was just fucking miserable, you know. So it's not a rational thing, you know. A lot of people who are who've never experienced you know, particularly depression, they don't understand that. And it's okay. Like some people say ignorant things about it, you know. But they don't know what they don't know. So, you know, there is a big lack of understanding about it. But it's gotten. I think one thing, Australia's really progressed super good on mental health. I guess awareness with veterans, with all walks of life. And it looks like America is you know, getting really good with that too. So, you know, like there's a lot of it's talked about. It's all about talking about it, isn't it? You know, talking about it and sharing and getting things off your chest, you know, whereas the old days, blokes would a lot of blokes would just drink themselves to death, basically, wouldn't they? That was probably the go-to. They would drown their sorrows literally, and
that's the road. That's the road a lot of men and women do go down, especially right after, you know, their service or while they're in the service. That happens a lot. I was an alcoholic for many, many years. I thankfully quit drinking right before I got out. So I've been out for a little over about 5 years, or this year will be 5 years, something like that. So, yeah, it's depression is, you're talking about trying to understand it. And it's like, it's hard for people to understand it because it's hard for people to understand what you're going through is the main thing. Is there's having empathy, having compassion, having a little bit of, you know, grace towards that person, because depression is different for everybody. You know, it's not the same for me as it is for you, and it creeps in differently, and our thoughts are different. But once again, they're all thoughts, but those thoughts can lead down dark roads, and unfortunately our thoughts create our reality. And so that's, you know, I ended up doing 15 and a half years. I got a number of deployments under my belt, and I still struggle with sleep. I still track my sleep. I still don't sleep. So I run around every day exhausted still. And so just because I've left and I'm like doing all these good things in life or whatever and trying to find purpose and whatnot, there's still things that come up, you know, and lack of sleep, quality sleep brings on what? A whole host of problems that, you know, being pissed off, agitated, moody, everybody doesn't know how to drive, you know, type, you know, all that stuff. So it never ends. And your brother-in-law has got a long road ahead of him. You know, the longer you stay in, I think the worse it is when you get out. Like it's like prisoners when you get out. We're used to one thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I can do whatever I want now. And then sometimes we do too much of what we want, and then we end up, you know, either alcoholics or drug addicts or, you know, all sorts of other crazy shit. And so yeah, it can, those dark depressive bouts, moods, times, or whatever, they can really turn into really dark places sometimes. And I do believe though that we have our families in front of us for a reason, and that reason is because we need to take our thoughts off, or take our mind, you know, or take our awareness off of our stupid thoughts and look at our family and say, hey, this is what matters. You know, we got to look at our family, and because that's the thing that's real. You know, our thoughts to me aren't real because I can't hold on to them. I can at least hold my family. So I have to like keep talking to myself and keep telling myself like, hey, there's more to life than just these thoughts. Let's go, you know, hang out and engage with people, because if we don't, man, you're gonna sit in a room and think about the dumbest stuff that you can think of, and it doesn't get you anywhere except for depressed. You know, so whether it's dirt bikes or whatever, you know, get out there and do something, man. You know, find your way.
Oh,
no, go, man, go.
Well, since Anaheim, I mean, that one evening when we were all together hanging out, I went a little deep, you know. That just kind of rolled off the tongue there. I think that was just one of those times where it was meant to be, you know, and somebody was going to hear it. And I was approached afterwards, and the gentleman said, thanks for being vulnerable and sharing, you know. So I hope he's, you know, doing good and working on what he wants to work on. But even since then, I switched counselors when I got back. The counselor I had, I'd go like 1 p.m. right after lunch hour. And the son of a gun, dude, he'd be like dozing off while I'd be like talking to him. And I'm almost like, are you for real right now? Like, dude, you're falling asleep, man. Time to wake up.
It's a minefield, man. Counselors, it's a minefield, you know. Like,
yeah. So I switched, and I got lucky, man. I don't know, like all the medical stuff I go through up here in the northern part of Idaho, I've gotten super lucky with good healthcare providers. And this new guy, I mean, this dude is a rock star. He's very active as far as giving you like homework to do.
Yep.
As far as like just mental techniques, or speaking to yourself, reading books. I remember one session maybe a month ago, I was talking to him. He started going down the road of like how I think about myself. And I was like, dude, I can't even look myself in the mirror. Like, it's that bad. Like, I would, like, say you go to the clothing store and they got the little mirror set up. I would intentionally like not even look at myself. I'd like walk quickly, you know, past the mirror. Like, don't look. Just because you're so ashamed of what you're going to see or what you're going to have to encounter looking at yourself, you know? So what does he do? As soon as I say, he goes, come on, get up. I'm like, okay. We're at an American Legion. It's kind of like just a building for vets to kind of hang out and become like a club kind of thing.
Yeah.
Commercial building. So he takes me to the bathroom, and I instantly knew. I go, son of a gun. He goes, we're going to spend the next half hour in here talking to yourself in the mirror. I'm like, you motherfucker. This is the last thing I want to do. I have nothing good to say to myself. And I didn't have to just speak to myself, you know, off the cusp. He led me, you know. Guided meditation is a big thing that he does.
Yep.
And dude, that was tough, man. Looking yourself in a big old mirror, having to say positive things about yourself. one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And then he tells me at the end of the session, you're going to go home and you're going to do that every day when you first wake up. I'm like, dude, I'm going to be going through like 5 or 6 mirrors. We're going to break these things, just looking at yourself in the mirror. But it's helped. Things like that help. I think, like you said, it's a minefield of finding the right fit.
There's
But
a lot of shit. There's a lot of shitty ones, man. Well, there is here in Australia, that's for sure.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean give up, though.
Yeah, you got to keep looking and find your right person.
Exactly. And then he gave me a book recently I read, and I really dig it. It's called The 4 Agreements, and it's by, hold on one second, it's by Don Miguel Ruiz. And the overview of the book is it teaches you these 4 agreements that you make with yourself. Number 1, being impeccable with your word. Number 2, don't take anything personally. Number 3, don't make assumptions. And number 4, always do your best. And once you read through it, in the beginning, the first chapter, there's some hokey pokey, like they use the words like dark magic, which some hokey pokey stuff, but they're talking about negative words, really, right? If you just instead of using dark magic, you use, potty talk, trash talk. It's a must read, in my opinion, especially if you deal with mental health things. I really like the last one, always do your best. In the chapter, he speaks about how to understand that even on your bad days, your best is still your best that day. Doesn't mean you deserve to speak negatively to yourself and beat yourself down. Changing your mindset into, that was my best today, and that's all right. Tomorrow, we'll get up and we'll try to do better. We'll try to make our best better that day. Because that, I think, part of not being able to look myself in the mirror, you beat yourself down, It's like, oh, you're not good enough. You're not doing you're not doing your best. You're letting your family down. You let your wife down. You let your kids down. So if anybody's struggling with anything mental health related, I would highly suggest The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
It's great when you find things like that, isn't it, man? Like it's great when you find things like that. Yeah. Like what I was saying about so I went through 3 shrinks, and the probably one that was pretty shit, one that was okay but too sort of fluffy, friendly, and then the lady that fucking changed my life, she was just fucking really straight to the point, which is what I need. So there's probably different ones suit different people, but she was fucking straight to the point. And she just started fucking digging in, and and she just fucking figured it out basically, and it set me on a different path of life. So there's really good ones out there, but I think in Australia, like counsellors, they make a lot of money, right? And so it's a really good paying job, and I think good ones are worth that. But I think because they just charge so much, I think it's become almost become a profession of choice. They get to sit down in an air conditioned room and talk and get paid really well. So I think a lot of people are taking on that job and being a counsellor, but there maybe their heart and their passion's not in helping people, and or they're just not knowledgeable enough to do it. I think the best people, the best ones by far, are ones who've been through it themselves. There's some people out there. There's some guys I follow on socials and that who've been just a fuck up, like a massive fuck up. I mean, I was a fuck up myself, and they've come through it and they've learned so much, and they've learned shit that people who've been mentally healthy their whole life can't possibly learn or even comprehend. So. And I think, by all means, you gotta talk. It runs in my family. My kids, my dad, and it's funny thing when you sort of realize that, I think about stories about even like my grandfather and his temper and this sort of stuff, and you think, well, fuck, like my son, me, my dad has fair chance, and my grandfather. Well, when he was doing his temper tantrums, and the funny story was Nana would get the rosary beads out when he was working on something in the backyard, because it was only a matter of time before he would lose his temper and start throwing things around the backyard. And yeah, he was probably struggling, So it's one of those things. Yeah, you absolutely got to just keep trying and trying. I reckon trying anything, everything. I know, Felipe, you've tried some different sort of stuff. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but I think it's something that could help people. If you want to talk about it, doesn't matter if you don't.
Yeah, man, I love talking about that.
Oh,
kind of
go
stuff.
for it then, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, hook in.
Yeah,
You've tried some different things that have worked great for you. So
yeah, let's go to space.
yeah, man.
So no, I right after leaving the military, because I already quit drinking alcohol. I just went cold turkey. So don't do that. Don't do what I do. I do shit the wrong way. So that's why I tell people don't do how I do it. I kind of dive in head first, and then I'm like, okay, what did I get myself into? And so I started diving into the psychedelics, plant medicine, whatever you want to call it. And so, that can be cannabis, weed, mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms, ayahuasca, DMT, ibogaine, ketamine, LSD, MDMA. There's tons of stuff out there. There's a lot of research done with MDMA. And then here in the United States, the Dan Crenshaw was a big part of it, along with a former Navy SEAL, Marcus Capone, nonprofit Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions. So I was part of a research and so our information helped kind of gear towards pushing that up to Congress and whatnot. And so because most of the guys that went through the programs that we went through saw a positive change. Your life problems aren't going to go away from one day just doing, a psychedelic therapy journey session, whatever ceremony that you're doing. You're the one that has to do the work. What it does is these different types of plants help you to realize and see, like you had that lady, the counselor, she just like said, hey, fuck off. No, I got you. And then she tells you exactly what's going on. That's kind of how the medicine can do that. It can do it in a very quick way. And so they have professionals there. It's really a wonderful experience. I know AC did it. Adam Cianciarulo, he did it. He never really talks about it. I can hear a lot when he talks. I can hear a lot of what he's saying, I feel like, is directly from what he experienced because of what it helps you with, what it shows you. It just kind of, it's like you get this world view of the world, you see all this stuff and you're just like, holy shit, there's no way that happened. There's no way that was real. Like, how is that dimension or that reality, whatever that was, how is that real? And then you get brought back to earth and then you're like, okay, well, I saw all that shit. I experienced all that shit. What do I do now? Now it's like, just take life in, enjoy the moment. Don't live in the past, don't live in the future. Those don't exist. They never will. The only thing that exists is what? This moment right here, right now. And so anyone that is remotely looking at like something further than counseling, because some people, counseling doesn't work very well. It's very difficult for them. And so sometimes you need a good foot in the ass, sometimes you need to get a boost, you get a little nitrous, get a little boost on it. And so those are good alternatives. And right now we're in the age of the plant medicine. You can do that shit in South America. You can do it all over. You can do it in the United States. Some of it, a lot of it's limited in the United States, but if you go to Mexico and Peru and South America and whatnot, and all those countries, man, you're set to go. It's helped me a lot. It didn't solve any of my problems, but man, it's really, over time, over the years, I started doing this probably about 3 years ago. 2 years ago, I did ibogaine for the first, or Shit, it's about 3 years ago now. But I did ibogaine once in DMT, and then I did it again a year later, and then a few months after that, I did ayahuasca. And so we did a lot in a very short period of time. And so now is the time to let all that stuff kind of work itself through. And like Cody was saying, today might be my best today might just be what I had today, and that's all I got. And that's just what it is. And that's as hard as I could go that day. But, I'm going to remember that and be like, okay, well, tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to, tomorrow I got a new opportunity. And so living in the moment and living in the now is something that the medicine is shown me and told me and presented in front of me. It's just like, because that's all the crazy thoughts that go through my head are from what? Nothing. It's nothing tangible. It's just thoughts, they're not going to do anything. That's not going to produce anything except for stress and anxiety. So, but do you have any like questions about it specifically? Because I know people are always curious about what happens or what goes on or what you see or what, that type of stuff.
Yeah, man. Like, just tell us more. I reckon. Just tell us more, man. It's super interesting. I know one area, like Australia's in a lot of ways of the world, and that we're very forward thinking, but plant medicine, we're fucking so far behind, man. Like, there's even weed's not legal anywhere, like it's just ridiculous. Like, it's crazy. Like, we even have and like in my state, which is the most sort of regimented, we even have buses that go around drug testing drivers. And you could lose your driver's license if they, they swab in your mouth. They'll pull you up. They'll close the road, pull you up, swab your mouth for drug use. And you could, I don't know what the penalties are, but yeah, it's probably loss of license or a big fine or whatever. And they'd take your keys off you for sure.
No wonder y'all drink so much and y'all are so fucking angry. I'd be angry too if I couldn't smoke weed. Shit.
Yeah. And look, a lot of people do, but it's all obviously underground, and it's very, very recent. Like maybe last year, medicinal plantations are up and running, and you can get a referral from a doctor and get onto medicinal, and you can get some weed that way. But it's a big open country, so there's a lot of stuff getting grown. There's a lot going on in backyards, and especially where it's hard to see. Like where I lived for 12 years down there, and the very, very outskirts of Melbourne in the mountains there. Both my neighbours either side, they had, plantations going on because we're up in the mountains. No one could see any of it.
Perfect.
No one cared. They all did it. So, but it's you certainly can get they can get fined and court cases and all that just for doing that if they got caught. So it's pretty crazy. I know I think Adelaide, South Australia. There's there used to be, it was a little bit more free. There was like a minimum. You could have like 4 plants or something like that, 4 pot plants, or there was some little funny rule like that. So that was years ago. People were moving over there just for that. But it's it's pretty pretty crazy. How locked down that is, man. But yeah, tell us. I want to know just more. And Brojo, do you have specific questions for Felipe about?
Felipe, when did we meet? 3 years ago? I think the three of us met like 3 years ago, probably now, right?
Yeah, probably
something
like that.
Yeah. Felipe and I hit it off, obviously, veteran connection, and we started playing video games together because that's another way vets kind of bide their time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Felipe and I've had many conversations about alternative medicine. I think I was always kind of open to it, but after having conversations with him, I'm like anxious to go try and see how much deeper I could go within myself. And I watch lots of podcasts, different podcasts with guests on that are, I guess, professionals, in that realm.
Yeah.
I was watching one episode, the Sean Ryan show, recently. It wasn't alternative medicine, but he was talking to a I guess like a researcher who studies near death experiences. And the guy's interviewed like over 1,500, over 2,000 people who've died and come back. And he was saying across all his research, one of the things he's gathered is a near death experience where you sort of your soul leaves its body and you're sort of conscious for this period of time. And he likened it to doing like alternative medicine. Alternative medicine is one of the closest things. It's one of the things you could do that will closely mimic as if your soul detaches from its body and is kind of out doing its own thing and coming back. I thought that was very, very interesting. I think something supernatural kind of happens, when you get fully. The way I look at like alternative, medicine, it helps you let go of your conscious mind, because our conscious mind is I mean, it pretty like we were saying earlier, you get in these places with your dark, deep thoughts, that's your conscious, your subconscious mind,
Yeah.
kind of owning you and you not owning it. I think it's hard for a lot of people to let go and release that control, and go into those deep, dark crevices and start to truly like heal, I guess, in a way. So I really like the idea of alternative medicine as a I guess an avenue to help people kind of let go of that control and go put one of the pieces to the puzzle in its spot for healing,
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for people trying stuff like that, like it's like even just like my mum, she's gone, but she suffered from Parkinson's, and there was so much stuff out there about symptom relief and just pain relief and all that sort of thing, just using weed for Parkinson's. And we'd be at it like, why don't you try this and that? But she was so prim and proper and old school, like, she would, like barely ever drank in her life. She would have never touched a cigarette or anything, like, she was like, oh no, can't do that. And then even my dad nowadays, like he has arthritis. He has he's always in pain and that sort of stuff. And we say the same thing to him, like, you gotta, we know someone who can make you some cookies, like, just why don't you give it a shot? But he'd be the same. Oh no, I better not do that, So, but it's that's just like growing up here. It was sort of it was a small town, small Aussie town, and the town, it's one of them real traditional country towns, just like you would have in America, where the three things that the town hinged on was, or especially like my circle and family, was football, church, and pubs. So football, church, and drinking alcohol. That was all just like indelibly linked. Like the mayor of the town would have been in the front pew at church, would have been at in the front, bleachers, as you would say, at the football, and would have been at the pub on a Saturday night. Like that was it. So drinking was almost expected, encouraged, whereas dudes who would smoke a bit of weed were just like frowned upon, like they were bad people, bad kids, and all that sort of thing. And I grew up, thinking that, and so I never did weed when I was a young bloke, and that because it was just like there was this link this sort of they were bad people that did that, you know. Whereas what you know nowadays is just like, you know, some are good for, you know, I know people who've gone down the path of drugs and it's fucked their life, but I know people who've you know, done like what Felipe, you know, trying things and it's improved their life. I know guys who weed has saved their life, literally, like, you know, made them turn a corner and save their life, you know. And I think the same with drink, you know, like I love a beer, but I don't have any problem, you know. I know people who've destroyed their lives over drinking, you know. So I think it's different for everyone, but yeah, that it's such an odd thing in Australia, that whole, you know, alternative medicine is just like, you know, it's just hippie shit, you know. So it's a hard one to get people to get on board with, man. But it's, yeah, I think it's by far, you know, the a good way to go. Like, I know we've talked about it before, you know, we don't want to get too political, but pharmaceuticals, and it's so much marketing, man, like so much marketing, like, you know, it's all about money making and marketing and that sort of thing. The heart's not in the right place, you know. And I can remember my dad when he was younger than me, when I was a kid, lining up his pills to take that the doctors were telling him to take, you know. That's sort of real, that baby boomers doctors sort of thing, where it's like, oh, something's wrong, you know, I better take another pill, better take another pill. And not once did those doctors ever say, you know, you exercising, you know, what are you eating, you know, he's staying hydrated, you know, like.
Yeah, it's never fix your diet, exercise, get outside. It's always, here's a pill to fix the pill that causes a second problem. It's sickening. I think, like, I like to say, like, things in moderation are not bad, you know, like weed, psychedelics, a little bit of beer, right? Are those things great for us to consume? Probably not, you know, in mass quantities, but things in moderation, they're not terrible. And like you said, you have some friends that they've helped them get along, be more productive, right? If something's not making or if something's preventing you from being productive in, I guess, let's say society, it's probably time to kind of go back to the drawing board. But I think, like Felipe and I've talked, like doing like microdosing is really help, you know, like taking edge off with a lot of veterans and friends that you have. Helps them be super productive. Whereas if they weren't, you know, they'd be, you know, their worst version of themselves, you know.
Yeah. I get that. The word I was looking for before was stigma. There was some, you know, I guess, like we laugh about how, you know, we're weirdos, right? we're all weirdos. That's what we're mates, right? And yeah, really normal people, you know, there's a stigma about things like this, where it's like they're more likely to front up to the GP and get a pill because that's sort of what normal people do, rather than they're just too worried about, you know. People are too worried about being fucking normal, you know, in life. That's a life problem, you know, in all walks of life, isn't it? You know, like it's one thing I taught my kids, you know, especially my daughter who takes after me a lot. And I said to her from when she was little, if anybody ever says you're weird, that's a compliment. It's the best thing you can be, because it means you're interesting. So
100%.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. Guys, what about so, you know, obviously we spent a bit of time, and we could talk forever, but we spent a bit of time about talking about some of the sort of the negatives, I guess, you know, a little bit of negative about you know, the military and your struggles afterwards and that sort of thing. But tell us a bit about the good times, man. The good times. You know, the friendship, the camaraderie, you know, the achievement, fun, that sort of thing. Yeah, lighten things up a bit.
Go ahead, bro.
I mean, I mean, for not having like an infantry style job, that's what like every little boy dreams about, right? You get the little plastic GI Joe, you know, action figure.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't complain. I had one of the coolest jobs, man. I mean, we were there on the flight deck, you know, a handful of feet away from these amazing, amazing aircrafts. I think Felipe mentioned it earlier is the FA-18 Charlie version. I mean, those things rip, man. They're so freaking powerful. And I'm down there after training, probably 19 and a half years old, on the flight line for the very first time with, you know, my senior guys. And they just throw you right to the wolves. Say, hey, you got your manual, your publication, get in there and fix it. You know, and they're hounding you. There's still that little hazing period, right? Where they got to hound you a bit, but they enable you. They don't like baby you, which is, I kind of guilty of that even today. I don't like to baby people. It's just push them into the deep end, you know? Um, but I mean, that's kick ass, man. 19 and a half years old, and you're working on, I think they're $35 million a piece. We had 15 of them at any given time. It's a lot of money or things to be responsible for. And then just to know like the invaluable a pilot's life, knowing that you're working on this aircraft, and if you don't, you know, splice this wire correctly, or you don't tighten this, you know, nut, or whatever the case may be, if you don't tighten it or do it correctly, you're putting that pilot's life on the line, and you're going to answer for it one day. That's a pretty intense. Like, you don't think about it every day. Like, it's not weighing on your mind. But when you look back and you have more, like, hindsight's 2020, you're like, wow, every time I fix something, over the thousands and thousands of things that I fixed, that was a lot of opportunity to fuck up, you know? And we had, I think, I don't know data, but we had like 3 aircraft that went down during my 5 years, part of our squadron. I don't know if that was some sort of record, you know, per unit to have that many aircraft go down, but it's a big to do when an aircraft goes down. There's like CIS or, you know, whatever they're called. I mean, it's a whole deal, and your butt's puckered, man. You're like racking your brain, you know, going home at night, going, "Oh shit, did it?" You know, hopefully it wasn't something I touched. Not because you don't want to be responsible, but because you feel guilty. You know, like we always used to say, kids would come in, the newer guys, you know, hey, I went home last night and I couldn't stop thinking about what job I performed that night. And you're like, that's good. You have a conscience, right? It'd be like some of our buddies, like RH22, Ryan Hughes, like probably all the way up until that main event, he's stressing out. Hopefully I tighten these nuts. Hopefully I tighten these bolts, right? Like,
yeah,
that to me is a sign of a quality human being, you know, that it weighs heavy on their conscience, that they want to perform well, and keep everybody safe.
Just RH22. So that's the real Ryan Hughes. So not Rhino up in the mountains doing push-ups. A different Ryan Hughes, but he is a mechanic for Pro Circuit and a good mate of ours. And yeah, he's Max Volan's mechanic, but he pushed the spanners for Time Master Pool on the weekend there. So yeah, yeah. So that was good because he's been sweeping the floors at Pro Circuit too much with Max's injury.
Squeaky clean.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, just that. I mean, what we always like what is that movie Fury that came out with Brad Pitt? And they were like army tankers back in World War II. They're all sitting in the tank in like the most shittiest situation, like they're all about to die, and they just go, "Best job I ever had," right? And that's literally the attitude. Like when I try to summarize, you know, like there's no better few words. Best job I ever had, right? Other than being a father and a husband. Nothing, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, nothing will ever top like that sensation, those feelings. You can't mimic them. We try to. We chase, you know, adrenaline on dirt bikes and jumping out of airplanes or snowboarding, whatever. Best job I ever had, man. In such a young age too. I got to go on an aircraft carrier with the Navy for 10 months, which was bloody hell. That was, talk about being institutionalized. That's like damn near being in a prison. Probably just a few extra little freedoms. But along with that negative, I mean, we went to 5 different countries and got to run amok, you know, at 20 years old. How many 20-year-olds are running amok, you know, partying and just having a good old time with the boys, you know? Not many, a small percentage. Can't do that now. I got four little minions to put before myself. So you hold on to those memories, you know. You sit back, you might run into a buddy. I had one of my old sergeants. He now is a territory manager for the railroads up here in the Northwest. And he got a hold of me. I haven't seen him in probably 8 years. He said, "Hey, I heard you're living in Idaho. I'll be up there in a few weeks." And we met up and shoot, man, we went and had beer and some fries for probably 3 or 4 hours, just reminiscing, just old stories, old war stories is all. We didn't talk about the future. We didn't talk about the now. It was just living in the past, you know, because they were some good times.
Just doing the remember when.
Yeah.
What about you, Felipe? Tell us a bit about some of the fun, the positives, the things you loved.
Oh man, well, I had my main time in the Army was about 12 years. I had 12 years of nonstop, just go, 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 go. And well, I had a little bit of a break in between. I blew my knee out, but I was not on the aircraft carrier. I was on the Army. I was on the ground. I wanted to be the little action figure guy or whatever, you know, do it all or whatever. And so I didn't know a lot either, though, when I joined the Army. I got lucky where I ended up. I volunteered for a unit. I went through a selection process. Just the selection process in itself was pretty brutal. I think we had about, if I remember correctly, we started out about 230, and I think we graduated probably like 70 to 80 guys about 4 weeks later. And it was just, every day it was just a gut check, basically. And it was just to see if you could survive the stupidity, I guess, in a way, the abuse, the lack of sleep. We got fed pretty well, but it was just they fucked with us for 4 weeks straight. And then when you graduate, you get your little, you get a couple days off, and then you get to go to your unit and everything. And so that process in itself, because I had guys that I started day one with, and then I went to my first unit about 6-7 months later. We went through about 7 months of training together, and then we ended up in the same unit together. And that really welds people together. And so our boys were deployed at the time. I joined a military unit where about every 7 months we would deploy. So at the time it was a global war on terrorism, which most people have no idea what the fuck that is. But yeah, my first deployment was like 2005. I joined in 2004. Got there late 2004. We started deploying in 2005. Even before my first deployment, I already experienced death. Today is Memorial Day. My boy wasn't killed in action, but he was my roommate. He got shot in the throat, actually. He got hit in the throat, and it went straight down his heart, and it blew his heart out. Yeah, and that was like 2 months after I get to my unit. We're doing live fire training, bam, bam, bam. And it just happened. A round came through and shot him right in the neck and killed his ass. And then like a couple days later, I'm doing a funeral detail. I'm a brand new private doing a funeral detail for my roommate that just got shot. I was like, this shit's fucking real, dude. So, yeah, first training cycle, we're already losing people, and we lost people during airborne operations because we jump out of airplanes. And so we lost some guys that way throughout. I was in Washington for 4 years, and then while I was there, we deployed about 4 times. So there's a lot of training events where you're just sucking at life, and you're hating life, but you're laughing because you're next to your buddy, and that's the best time you'll ever have in your life. Like, you reflect on that, like Cody's saying. You can talk about it for hours, and you're just going to laugh and laugh and laugh because it sucked so bad and you hated your life. And you're probably whining or crying like a bitch at the time, and your buddy will probably remind you of it, but it's still funny and you still talk about it. And it's still that camaraderie that, I could tell you story after story after story of, hey, we were there in a training event. I chose to do the job where I'm outside all the time. That's just kind of how it was. So we spent a lot of time outside doing training. We had a lot of, rain, a lot of shitty weather, a lot of sitting in the woods overnight, just getting pissed on. You're completely soaked. Everything is soaked. You're out there for 4, 5, 6 days, just completely soaking wet. And you just look at your buddy and you just fucking laugh. You just laugh. Like, you laugh hysterically sometimes because you're just like, this sucks. This is so dumb. But you're both doing it, and it's actually kind of fun. And but it makes for when you go overseas and deploy, and you have hard missions, and you have times, and you got your boys are there for you, and sometimes you lose your boys. I'm remembering quite a few of my friends today that we lost, and it sucks, man. It's a shitty feeling, but I raise a glass figuratively to them. I raise a joint to them because there are I have to live in their honor, and I have to live for them. And no, I just remember a lot of good times of just shitty situations, but they're the best ones because those are the ones you remember. The good times are a little harder to remember. It seems like the shittier times where things weren't so good, or things were in a pretty bad situation or precarious situation. Because there have been situations where death has been very, very imminent. I've walked into houses where the complete house was rigged with explosives, and God was on our side that night. Thankfully, they were not able to detonate because we had measures in place to where he was not able to activate that phone. And so there's those things like that remind me of, me and my buddies were all sitting in the same house, and we could have all died that same night. But somebody was watching out for us. Somebody was making sure that his cell phone wasn't working that night and couldn't kill us all. So those are some of the weird things that go through my head as far as, and that's even a good time too, because I'll sit and laugh about it, hysterically, because I'm like, damn, they almost got me on that one. But, that's just kind of how it was. And throughout the deployments and throughout the years, I mean, it was the best job that I ever had. Where do you get to jump out of airplanes at 20,000 plus feet? And I got to ride dirt bikes in the military. I got to ride side by sides. I got to do a lot of cool shit in the military that a lot of people, I've never had the opportunity to do. And I was thankful enough that I took the opportunity to do it and put the foot forward and volunteered and just said, fuck it, let's do it. Let's just send it. Like Deegan says, I'm kind of sendy, that's what I did. I was just kind of sendy, like, hey, fuck it, let's go. Let's see how far we can take this train. Cause I'm the only one in my family that's ever been in the military. No one that I know of in my family has ever been in the military. So I just kind of the weird one out, and like you said, be weird, because at least you're interesting. So I mean, I got a lot of weird stories, and it was a great time, and I would not trade it for anything in the world. Never. Even all the fucked up times. I had a lot of fucked up shit happen in the Army, and the way I got out was not good at all. Not good at all. I was in a downward fucking spiral, dude. Downward spiral. The thing that I am glad that I never started doing was like real drugs, like opiates and like heavy drugs. I know a lot of guys that are in a bad spot, and I survived. And it is not an easy road. And Like Cody was saying, you got to do it every day. You got to remind yourself every day, hey, motherfucker, this isn't going to take, it's not going to happen in a week. It's going to happen in like years, man. It takes time. Be good to yourself. Like we're our worst enemy. No one can motherfuck us worse than we can. I bet no one can talk shit about you as good as you can, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
one is as mean or as much of an asshole as you are to yourself.
Mm.
But when I look at Cody and Steve right here, I see nothing but great men that I want to hang out with and talk with for hours and hours. And I think y'all are fucking amazing, but you won't say that to your face. I won't say that to my face. I'm just like Cody. I'm like, fuck no, I don't want to say that about myself. But other people think about that way about us. It just takes time. But having guys come together like this, talk about it, ride dirt bikes together, whatever, drink a beer, who cares? Smoke a joint, whatever you're doing. That's what it takes, because this conversation has to happen, because guys are too afraid or too ashamed to say, hey man, I'm struggling, bro. Like I'm having some fucked up thoughts. All right, cool, man. Let's come over here now, especially if it's somebody that generally will never say that. And you're like, whoa, shit. Yeah, man, come over here. Let's talk, man. Let's have a chat.
Because once you crack the door open on the subject,
mm-hmm.
It just takes someone to crack the door open on the subject.
Yep.
And people will fucking talk. Like, I experienced, probably one of the things, apart from my kids and stuff, one of the things I'm proudest, definitely outside of kids and stuff, the proudest thing I've ever done was, I don't know, a fair few years ago now, I planned it for ages and I didn't have the courage to do it. But previous to this, I put out a video on Facebook. But previous to that, the only people who knew that I wasn't the happiest, smiliest motherfucker in the world was my wife and my doctors. I was exceptionally good. I'm always known for smiling. I'm always look like a happy motherfucker. And I was exceptionally good at hiding my feelings. Like, fucking, like, I'd probably be a good actor, I guess. But I got to a point where I was like, I've got to fucking let everything go. And like, I'm a dive in fucking head first sort of all or nothing sort of person. There was never going to be like a quiet conversation with my dad or whatever. It was just like out to the world, the fucking whole lot, Yep. I put out this video talking about what I'd been through and that I was how much better I was feeling and gave some advice and that sort of thing. And then I ended up doing a few videos and stuff. But that first one, the response from my friends and family in particular, and I ended up getting strangers, contacted me and all sorts of stuff. It blew up. But the biggest things was so my two best mates and my dad, who are all just stoic fucking motherfuckers, like just everything's fine all the time. I'm perfect, like I'm tough, like there's never anything wrong. All three of those people that would just never have opened up to anyone have all opened up to me since. And the most amazing one, my dad, like,
yeah.
Like my best mate, we have, we have heart to hearts all the time, about how we're going and that sort of thing. And it's fucking awesome. It just takes someone to open up that door and just, and there's poor cunts out there right now who don't have that mate, who don't have that fucking, mate or parent or colleague or whatever that's going to crack that fucking door open for them. That's why we lose them, So it's all about speaking up, isn't it?
One of the stigmatisms I don't like is just because you may be going through something mentally or physically, there's nothing wrong with you. You're normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Just find somebody you trust, even if it's not a counselor. Find somebody you trust and open that door,
yeah,
right? And just get the conversation flowing. That's the best thing you could do, right? Like a kettle on the stovetop. You know, it's got to let a little bit of pressure out, right?
mm,
It's okay. You don't have to take drastic measures into your own hands and harm yourself. Like, life is not that serious. I would say I generally have a really good
no,
life, and I have
yeah,
I have a roof over my head, and my kids aren't starving,
mm,
and I've not been in some of the worst situations as some people have experienced, but I've been in my own worst situations, right? Like Felipe was saying, I think I said back in Anaheim when I kind of went on my little rant. Felipe's in my military experience, polar opposites. He was in the shit, life and death every single day. I sort of was in a different fashion, but way, way safer, right? But my worst days were my worst days, and his worst days were his worst days.
mm,
Do we as humans classify like worst days or, more dangerous situations? Absolutely, right? But it doesn't take away from like even a guy who was an admin and worked behind a desk,
mm,
and had, whatever. Like my brother is in the Air Force as a mechanic. They had over in Afghanistan at one of the biggest bases, they still had mortars dropping around them nearby. They had to hit the deck for cover. I didn't have to experience that. Those were some of his worst days. Like, is a mortar gonna drop into my ass while I'm sleeping? You know, I just it's okay. It's really truly okay. There's no reason to go to the length of harming yourself.
mm.
Just find somebody to talk to, and then progressively make steps forward.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. What do you guys have any what's maybe your favorite bit of advice for people? Do you have like a go-to favorite bit of advice?
Hmm.
Man,
I,
that's a tough one.
That's right. Well, while you're thinking about it, so I sort of have my I guess it's the advice to myself, the things that I go over and over all the time. Is and this it's different for everyone, that's why it's good to get different perspectives. But I have sort of three things that I just drum in to myself constantly. And one is perspective. And interestingly enough, there's a famous photo of a bunch of diggers that had just been released from a prisoner of war camp, World War II, I think, and they are just ribs hanging out, arms and legs like stick figures, starving and everything, and they're sitting there, and they've got an Aussie newspaper, and one's got a cigarette. And it's just like the war's over and they're heading out and they're catching up on the news now. And these guys are fucked. Like, they look like shit. And they're all fucking smiling and just like, And I that just really struck a chord with me years ago. And I use that. I've got that burned in my brain. Anytime I think that something's a bit hard or I'm doing something a bit hard, I think of those guys. And I think like, nothing about it's like fucking like it's not even it's perspective, man. It's like those guys did it fucking hard. I ain't doing shit hard at all. So that to use that, find something to use for perspective, to use as like that's someone really doing it hard. I'm okay. So that's one. Another one is what we spoke about before about patience. Like, time does heal everything. I lots of times, even probably only a couple of years ago, I never thought I would get like fully well, get to my best. I thought I'd always still have some lingering things. But yeah, I just still keep getting better and better, you know, as my mental health, my physical health, everything, my whole being, I just keep getting better and better and better. So, you know, it just takes time. So just to be really patient with anything that you're struggling with. And the third one is gratitude. I use gratitude every day, and there's a million ways to do that, but just to think about something that you're grateful for every day, even on a shitty day, especially on a shitty day. Think about something that you're grateful for. It could be anything. It could be a lot of times you might just think of your kids, but then there might be a time where you think about your fucking motorbikes, you know, or anything that you're grateful for, and it all molds in with perspective and everything. You know, there's some fucking little kid in the world who's never even seen a motorbike and he's got fucking nothing to eat. You know, that's a problem. You know,
Yeah.
and here am I getting the shits up over something so insignificant. So that's the three things that I use there, and then sort of I guess the overriding thing about life that I sort of I guess preach is about how well you know yourself, and that's, I think that's the biggest key to everything, is just how well you know yourself. And once you know yourself that well, fucking loving that person to bits. That's I think that's the key to nearly all mental struggles, I think, is knowing yourself and fucking loving your flaws. You know, like everybody's got a flaw, a weakness, and just loving it because, yeah, well, I'm shit at that, but I'm fucking good at other shit. So then that's who I am. You know, that's the sort of things, you know, I have them written down and all that. So I put notes on the walls and all that sort of shit to remind me of those things. But yeah, that's and I think that last one, that, you know, about knowing yourself that well, I honestly reckon you can't put a percentage on it, but I think it's a fucking small percentage of people who really do really know themselves that well. But once you do, man, like once you do, you sort of makes you so strong, because I know that I've got faults and things that I'm not good at and flaws and all that sort of thing, and I can admit them, and I still love myself for being like that. So nobody can ever say anything to me like, oh, you can't offend me. You know, like, you can't offend me. There's nothing, like, you know, you can, because I already know things I'm no good at, you know, or things or my weaknesses. I know all that. So you can't offend me. So it almost becomes that becomes a strength, if you know what I mean. You know, like, example, a mate said to me a while back there, my best mate, he said, dude, you're a fucking pushover. And I was like, fucking sometimes I am. I'm too fucking nice. And I say I'm a fucking pushover. But it's cool because that's part of me, you know. And then there's other times I'm really fucking strong. So, you know, that's just the way I am. Whereas a lot of people would be fucking offended. I'm not a fucking pushover, you know, blah, 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 offended. And well, if someone who loves you and is your best mate tells you that, it's probably fucking right. So you need to start listening and learning more about yourself, you know. So that's just an example there. But yeah, advice. Did you sort of anything? You know, so it's just some advice for anyone who's struggling, especially from a vet's perspective. You know,
your mind is similar to a muscle. You know, I mean, you hit a lot of good key points there, and that book, The Four Agreements, those are some 4 things I'm trying to implement, you know, into my life and make me a better person. But I guess go back to the 1,000-foot view. Your mind is a muscle. You have to work it out. You know, you can't just go to the gym, do your bench press, your curls, your squats. You have to work your mind and feed it positive positive things, listen to good, healthy content, to make you mentally tougher. Maybe not like the David Goggins. Some people could use that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
A
some people,
little over the top for me, but there's a lot of good content, an ebook or a good podcast where they bring on a good guest that, it just feeds your mind. You got to work it. You can't just lay around, eat potato chips, and watch trash TV all day long and expect to be mentally sharp. Eating a good clean diet too. Whatever your flavor is on that, there's 100,000 different ones out there. That's one thing that's helped me, and that we've talked through like Discord, is obviously I've been seeing a counselor, but I've really dialed in the way I want to eat, and that's helped me tremendously, physically and mentally. I mean, Felipe and I've talked a lot. I think we've talked a little bit too, Steve, is testosterone is huge in service members, because we live at the high of highs. Like I said earlier, we're just peaked out on adrenaline, for years, just bang, 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 bang. And then we just crash down. And I think that really does a number on our hormone production. I went on testosterone, and I think like Vincent said on Minimum Moto recently, like he's just tapped out like 1,300 or 1,100. Dude, I was fucking peaked, dude, like 1,450 for weeks before she brought me back down, dude. I mean, I was running around like a damn jackrabbit, just freaking ready to punch a hole in the wall. But changing the diet up, I haven't been retested because I stopped working with that lady, not for any bad reason. She was really cool, and I could let her know, like, hey, I think we should drop our number a little bit or find a sweet spot. But I wanted to go at this, try to do a little bit more naturally through diet and exercise. So I quit cold turkey, which, like Felipe said earlier, is don't quit nothing cold turkey. Those first few weeks, man, I was like deader than a doornail. My wife was just like, what's going on? We're heading back down the wrong direction. Not just sexually, but mentally too. Like I was like couch potato for a couple of days, just exhausted. But we stuck with it, cleaned up the diet, and I mean, we're just firing on all cylinders, I think, right now. Couple of days here and there, you just have like a lazy, non-energetic day, but again, you got to work the mind as much as you work, your other muscles in your body.
Cool, man. I love it. Makes a lot of sense, man. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It is a muscle after all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Keep it sharp. Yeah, you got to keep your mind sharp. For, I would say, advice, a big thing that's helped me, honestly, is because a lot of us, and I'm speaking to men here, military, not, doesn't matter, because all of us men do the same fucking thing. We sit and think about the dumbest shit that doesn't mean anything. Things that we can't change, we can't control. Take 95% of what's going on in your head and just throw it away, because 95% of it is bullshit. It's just so much stuff, because anything from social media to news to whatever you pay attention to, like Cody's saying, you got to keep your mind clean. I try to absorb a lot of talking content, whether it's podcasts or YouTube videos, but it's related on mental health stuff. Whether the podcast, like I was listening to the same one that Cody's talking about, Sean Ryan's show, NDEs, near-death experiences. Some of those sound pretty close to what I experienced when I was under the influence of some psychedelics. And so you got to keep your mind right. And I've noticed that 95% of what's going on there is just a bunch of bullshit. It's garbage. It's stuff that I can't do anything about because it's already happened, or it's in the future, something that I can't even do anything about. So that is a big thing, is be present. The more you're present, then you're actually working on what's going on in front of you instead of all the nonsense that's not. So being present, and we talked about a lot of the same things, being patient with yourself, give yourself some space. I keep hearing that from different people that I talk to, different professionals. They're like, hey man, you got to give yourself some time and some space. This isn't going to happen in a day. Like you got a lot of time where you were in this, fight or flight mode, wherever you were doing what you were doing. And now you're coming off of it and you're trying to figure out, we as humans we're not designed to live in that mode for that long, for years and years and years and years on end, just constantly in fight or flight mode. And that's not good. It wears you down. It wears your testosterone down. It wears all that down. And so we have to really take a look at ourselves, be kind to yourself. Make sure you focus on your mind, feed your mind. Like Cody's saying, feed your body. I changed my diet a lot, and that actually helped with a lot of my pain that I was experiencing. I've had quite a few injuries. Thank God I never got blown up. I don't have a Purple Heart. I never got shot. Nothing. I just have a lot of really gnarly injuries just from things that happened. And a lot of those pains have gone away just from my diet because, and I'm going to harp on drinking. Drinking was a big part of it. Drinking is unfortunately not very good for us. I'm not judging anybody. Do what you want to do. I don't care. I don't have to, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And so, but being good to yourself, and that doesn't just mean being like, and I'm going to pick on Cody here for a second, be like going in the mirror, being like, hey, you're a good person, Felipe, you're doing a good thing. No, give yourself good food, give yourself good content. Don't just sit there and absorb all this bullshit ass garbage that's on social media. Read a book, man. I'm reading books too. Cody and I are kind of in the same boat. I've got a book, that I'm reading, and then he's got a book he's reading, and they're both doing great things. And we could probably swap and be like, oh man, that's great, and probably get something from it. But that's the thing.
Book club.
Yeah, book club. We can have the book club and whatnot. But the thing is, we can't stop. We can't expect or wait for the doctor to fix us or to heal us. That's our job. We're going to do that ourselves. We already know how to do that. We were already born with the innate wisdom we're already born with that wisdom inside of us. We're just too busy thinking about all the other bullshit when all we need to think about is, do I have food, water, shelter? Is my family good to go? Okay, then what? Now let's have some fun. Like, we don't need to worry about all this stuff in the world. Let's focus on what we can control. Social media, we can't control that. So be good to yourself. Absorb good content, whether it's your diet, your headspace, whatever you're doing. Having gratitude, that is a big thing, because we're never grateful. We always want the next big thing. We got to have the next iPhone or the next TV or the next whatever it is, and it's just because we're wired that way. We're constantly thinking that way. And just like you said, you were thinking about marijuana that way. That's just because we were told that.
Yeah.
But we were also not told that it has benefits. I'm not really sure that heroin has a very big benefit, but I think cannabis has a little bit more of a benefit than heroin. And so, everything in moderation, and don't take everything so seriously. Like you said, like, it's okay. That's just somebody's opinion. Like, if I said something like, "Hey, man, you're a pushover," it might be a fact, but that's also my opinion of the situation. And you can view it as that, or you can take it personally and be like, well, you're an asshole because you said that about me. It's like, hey, calm down now, don't get upset about somebody else's opinion. But yeah, and the good thing is that there's so much content out there that you can readily absorb out there. People just need to look for it. But we also have to help each other, like you had mentioned earlier, opening the door, because that right there can actually help somebody that is resistant to counseling or whatever. You might get them to one day go to counseling. They might be talking to you, and that might be their first form of counseling. Yeah, I know guys that I talk to that they even talk to counselors, but they talk to me, and we talk about some heavy stuff, and then we talk for a little while, and then a week or two later we might talk again about that kind of stuff. But you got to find somebody, also the shame of it, there is no shame in it.
No.
The people that are shaming you are the ones that are hurting just as bad, and
Yeah.
they're too scared. They're too scared to raise their hand, and I wish they would raise their hand, because it's like we're all in the same boat, man. We're all human beings just trying to make it through this life. Like, let's not make it more hard on each other. Like, we're just making it more hard for each other to get through this, this rat race we call life. Like, let's be a little easier on each other, because there are, especially as a man, it's really hard to be a fucking man in today's society with all the dumb shit that's going on and how men are viewed. And so, the mental health, it's like you're just stacking things on top of each other in our space, and it's just like weighing all of us down. And so we got to have ways to deal with that.
Yeah, it's funny.
And we get
keep going, man.
No, what I was gonna say is just we got to. Saying all that, we still need to teach the younger riders, the guys on the minis. We need to teach them this stuff so that when they grow older, they're already prepared for this. They don't have to deal with the dumb shit that we had to deal with. Learn from our mistakes, type deal.
I think we're in a unique position, right? Like, probably maybe. I mean, Felipe, you're a little older than me. Steve, you're a little bit more older than both of us. I think our
old as fuck.
30. I'm in my 30s, so I think there's a huge burden on my generation, right? Like, and then Felipe too, you're seeing it. Steve, you're seeing it. That boomer generation, man, and then the generation before them.
Yes.
Fuck, dude, so fucked. They held everything in. They abused the children, molested the children. Like, that Great Depression era, dude, that really did a number. And like, I could look at like my grandparents. They didn't know how to raise my dad or my mom, and then their parents didn't know how to raise children, right? Yeah. And now all of a sudden, fast forward to 2020s, we're having this mental health epidemic, right? Like, across the world, more and more people. It's not even an epidemic. It's just people are being more vocal about it, right?
Yeah. That was always there. But
so
now people talk about it. Yeah.
So I agree with what Felipe was saying. There is kind of our burden to open the door for the younger generations to start talking about it sooner, so it's not a problem midlife, right? Like, if they could get ahead of the problem now, that's just going to make them that much better of a husband or a wife or, a partner or whatever, they want to call themselves. The sooner they can get ahead of it, and the sooner we can encourage them to start addressing it. And it's okay, right? It's okay to not be okay. It's saying there.
Absolutely, man. Like, it's you're spot on that. Like my dad's, my dad's upbringing with my grandparents. I don't know if there's a saying in the States, but there was a very common saying in Australia that was children should be seen and not heard. That was basically it. So it was like, once you got up and had your breakfast and brushed your teeth, outside, don't come back in. And if there was don't come anywhere near the house if there's visitors. If we go to someone else's house, kids outside. And parents didn't talk to kids. And basically the teachers will teach you so that you'll learn everything you need to know about life at school and church. And you don't need to talk to your parents, which is so fucking bad, And then my dad's generation were better, but because my mum and dad, who are like very much boomers, they didn't grow up getting taught anything or being talked to, so they both struggled a bit talking to us, like we, as far as a lot of deep things, we sort of fended for ourselves, which, so you start out life behind. My kids know fucking everything I know, like everything I know, they know about life, about mental health, about all this good stuff, which I'm so grateful for. So you're right, Brojo, but then imagine how good a parents my kids can be, because like when my son is the oldest, when he was young, I was fucked up, and I will forever feel bad for not being as good a dad as I could be when he was young. By the time my daughter was come along, I was getting well, so I was able to be a much better dad. But yeah, they, and to her knowledge of herself and mental health and people and all that sort of thing is so fucking advanced for a 16-year-old. Like, she's fucking so smart, and she's not actually struggles academically. She's quit school because she's fucking dyslexic and she struggles academically, and she's a fucking weirdo like her dad. So but she's so fucking smart though. Like, she's gonna fucking kick ass in the world, once she finds her feet, and she's so fucking switched on with all that sort of stuff, and she has the anxiety that I had and all that sort of thing. But whereas I was like a kid who was like, I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I damn sure wasn't fucking talking to my parents about it. And there's no fucking chance. Like, I would go to school just fucking miserable and terrified, but it was more terrifying if I to talk to my mum about it, which is, my mum was lovely, but it was just not something you would do, whereas my kids will open up and tell me, and I'm very perceptive, but she'll tell me, no, I'm having a bad day, and I know, give her a bit of space. She's fucking having, a lot of anxiety today, and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's cool. And then just back to what I was going to say before, where Felipe touched on men being men. I get a beat me bonnet about that, and I actually, when I did that video a few years ago, and I got a really positive response on how people liked the video, and had some strangers reach out that it had helped them and that sort of thing. And I thought, this is fucking awesome. I should make a career change and try and get into that field, because, I, as moto and mental health things and helping people with that is like my two great passions in life. And I did try and get into that field. I tried a few different things, and I was met, not met in any sort of nasty way, but I could tell I didn't fit in.
Yeah.
And I even started studying psychology. And one of the first, and through fucking Sounds Flash, but it was an online thing that was actually through Yale. So it sounds Flash, but it was just an online fucking thing, But what was it? The lectures were this cat from Yale. And one of the first, things was about that there is a political, or not a political, but I can't think of the right word, but there was a bias towards a certain mindset type of people in the field of psychology, which makes sense. That's sort of, a lot. It's like a lot of musicians are left wing, and a lot of tradesmen are right wing. It's just, it comes with the territory, and there is a very left wing bias in that psychology field, and counselors and all that sort of thing. And I didn't fit in, and there was a couple of different things where I knew, like, I'm not getting a job here. I'm not going to get a foot in the door here because I'm not one of you, which annoyed the fuck out of me, to be honest. And I've spoken to a few people since, and I've had people in the industry say to me, we need people like you in the industry, because there's people like you that you would connect with who are struggling, and there is a narrative out there which makes sense for some, but not for others, about men not being as manly and that sort of thing. Like, there's a term, toxic masculinity, that gets thrown around. And look, if a guy's a bit of a softy, bit of a girly dude and all that, that's fine if that's him. That's cool. And there's some guys who are like that. But and if they need, and if that's their bag, then be like that. But a lot of blokes are like us. We're, as Aussies would say, we're blokey blokes. You know, we're like blokey blokes. I can remember being in a job and being told to be less blokey because I was too fucking blokey. I needed to, I needed to talk more and do more and even write emails more like the girls do. You know, like just, how fucking is that? And it was just this, not fit in. But the amount of blokes out there who are a macho sort of a guy who are struggling like fuck, they would relate to a counsellor who was on their level, who's gonna swear and talk about their sort of stuff and just be relatable but still have the knowledge. So that is that's certainly an issue out there, and it's and then also, like, it's okay if you are if you're a blokey sort of bloke, fucking be like that. Like, like if you want to go, fishing and shooting and fucking ride moto and just, be a bit of a cunt at times because you're full of testosterone and all that, like, you got to be you. So yeah, that's something, that I think society's definitely going wrong with that, where it's trying to I've heard it phrased really well. I think they're trying to demasculine what's the word? Demasculine. Demasculate. That's it. Trying to demasculate men like that. Like, fuck that. It's such a bad thing. Like, don't pick on the guys that are a bit girly. Those guys, are going to probably make a great musician or fucking, they got their own life's path. But a bloke who wants to be that blokey bloke, fucking get around him. Let him be like that. That's because that's your joy and your fun. And you touched on fun before there too, Felipe. Like, I think that there is a and this ties in, all these subjects tying together, as we know. It ties into what you're talking about, boomers. There's this thing with boomers where it's like they sort of felt like they needed to stop having fun once they were married with kids. You need to stop having fun. They need to work hard, build a huge superannuation fund, or you don't call it superannuation, but retirement fund.
Yeah.
Have the nicest house in the street. All this sort of stuff. It's just fucking so unimportant. Like, rather than finding fun and finding your passion in life, and having fun all the time. Like, that's what I always say. Is everything you do, there should be some element of fun to it. Even when I go. I'm on one of if I'm working for a customer doing a handyman job, and I'll have some cool tunes on the radio, or I'll be listening to a podcast that I enjoy, or whatever, just something just to make it fun, because there's I know so many people, that older generation, who are just a good example. Old customer of mine, lovely old guy, and he said to me a while ago, like, I've got a lot of older customers, and I will I always take the time to. I'm not like Vincent. I like talking to old people. I don't hate old people, Vincent, and I'll take the time when I'm finished the job just to have a chat to them. Especially, a lot of them are lonely. And some of the best chats you'll ever have is with oldies too, And this old guy, Barry, he's just like said to me once, he's telling me about what his daughter was doing. His daughter was on a hiking trip, and he's saying, yeah, she loves that stuff and that. And he goes, I never did anything. I just worked. And I could just see the regret in his eyes. And he goes, yeah, me and my wife, we just worked our whole lives. We just always at work. We never did anything. And that made me so fucking sad.
Yeah.
Like, dude, he's got a house and property that's worth a fortune. In a nice part of town and all that. And he's probably got plenty of money and all that, but his health's not good now, and he's in his big house on his own, and he's got regrets from not having fun and doing fun stuff. Like, you talk to people like
It's
that, so sad.
thank you both. I think I've talked to you both about what's coming next for Leandra and I.
Yeah.
Shortly, and it's funny. Like, you talk to like my dad. He's in his mid-50s, like, but he's got that mentality of like, you go to work, go to work, build that retirement, get your debt low, which is great. He's doing well off whatever they middle class.
Mm.
But they just don't see things certain ways, right? In whatever topic you choose. And so we were over at we own an Airbnb cleaning company here up in northern Idaho, and we were over at our last client, their house, and the husband was there, and he lives out of like a Mercedes Sprinter van, because their house they're Airbnb-ing it. So he came in, hey man, how's it going? Been a long time. I haven't seen it since last year. Because my wife says you're taking off. We're like, yeah, we're getting ready to head out here in a couple of weeks and travel. And he was a Marine too, probably around my dad's age, and he was just like, fuck yeah, dude, I am so excited. So you get like that polar opposite, like you're like, oh, my dad's probably like cringing. But then you got this guy, he's right around his age, like, dude, that is fucking awesome. Like, you got your whole life ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
Go build memories,
Yes.
And that was Leandra
Memories.
and I.
Memories is the word, man. Yeah.
Leandra and I always said, like, once the kids are grown, like, that'll be our time to go do what we want to do. I think a lot of people think that way. But I don't know, a couple months ago, 3-4 months ago, right around the time that we were all down there in Anaheim, I found this couple on YouTube, and they travel full time. They work from home or online, I guess. But they sold everything and they just hit the road. They're gone like 10 months out of the year, and they come back to Seattle, Washington for like 2 months a year. They do it all off of like an annual expense of like $35,000 a year, and they make more than that, so they're saving. So that sparked a little thing in mind. I'm started thinking about it and watching more videos. I go to Leandra. I go, hey, what do you think about this? Without hesitation, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Figure it out and let's go. If you think it could be feasible, we could do it, on a generally low budget and still save. Like, let's do it. And that's all I needed. I was like, okay, cool. Like, we're a very trusting relationship. When our kids were born, she came to me. I was like, I'm doing a home birth. And I was like, okay, cool. Looks like we're doing a home birth. Like, there's just that level of trust where you don't have to question, So, yeah, it's the memories, man. Like, I like sitting there just empathizing with that client of yours, spending a whole lifetime. Like, my grandpa just recently passed away a couple months ago, and he got around. I mean, they didn't travel out of the country a ton, but they were RVers. They had bought RVs and traveled the United States a lot.
Yeah.
Even though he did a lot, I still think towards the end he wished he had gotten more miles in. I think he wished he'd been on the road more. And so that just kind of sits with me. Is like, you got to find that happy medium of work, saving, and also making those memories. Because what are you gonna like? The client of ours, he was like, a lot of people, they, like you said, they work their whole life, and they have this nest egg. But what's the nest egg for? Some of them still don't even go use it for fun. They sit on it.
It'll go. It's their kids' inheritance.
Kids' inheritance or medical bills. And I think if you're in a place, you should leave some stuff to your kids. You know,
if you can.
Don't be a dumbass about it and blow it all on hookers and cocaine, right? Like, those definitely don't belong in moderation. But you know, go have some fun, man. You earned it. You put up with all the bullshit at work. You know, you better go enjoy a couple pennies. You know, of your little fortune that you save up.
I had that conversation with you know, like, so super open. Like, my kids know everything. Like I said, I was talking to them about my dad and just that people of that generation in general and that sort of thing. And I said to them, would you kids prefer if I left you a good inheritance, but I didn't have much fun? Or would you prefer to leave you a much smaller inheritance, but have lots of fun in life? And they just looked at me and it was like, that's the dumbest question ever. Like, of course we want you to have fun, you know, and every kid any kid who didn't give you that answer, there's something wrong with them, you know, like this. Of course, you know, like my dad's got, you know, probably the nicest, there's been some huge ones built recently. He's got one of the nicest houses in town, you know. And my mum and dad started off with fucking like less than nothing, you know. Their first house was do you call it? What do you call it? We call it housing commission, which is do you have the like government housing? You apply to get a house.
Oh yeah, Section 8 housing.
That was it. That was like they had that, and they in the shittest street in town, and they were renting, you know, or whatever, rent assist or whatever, you know, when they were first married, and they had just nothing. And like mum would tell stories in her later years of how she used to skip meals and that sort of thing, you know, and all this sort of stuff, like really fucking doing it hard. And then but they did well, and they you know, ended up, so dad's, and poor bugger's by himself in this 5-bedroom fucking 2-story big fucking flash house now. But like, and I've said to him, you know, I would much prefer that you were living in a fucking shit little house and you had lots more fun, you know. It's it's a funny thing. I think a lot of that with that generation too, a lot of it was judgment, you know, judgment and this sort of competitive thing, like you're going to be, you know, you got to look like you're doing really well, you know, with your car and your house, and everybody's judging everyone. Oh, look what he's driving, or look where they're living, you know, that sort of thing. There's so much that, and people's families are sometimes the worst with that. Like, you know, I've got the best car in the family, I've got the best house in the family, and there's a lot of like shitty things like that. Whereas I'm lucky. I've never given a fuck about stuff like that. Like, I just don't care. Like, you know, I used to drive my old. You've seen photos of my old Hilux Ute. So old Toyota pickup truck, as you guys would call it, and I used to fucking drive that to this high roller job I had. Because I'd rather take the money than because I could have got a car in my salary package, but I didn't want the car. I would drive the Hilux to work. But people loved it because they knew I was fucking real, you know, or they thought I was. I still wasn't being that real, to be honest. But, you know, I really don't care about that. I've never been a look at me type. So I've got around that naturally. But for a lot of people, this judgment, like, you know, like you're saying, Bro Joe, with, you know, with what you guys are doing, people look at that and think they're being irresponsible. You'll cop shit like that and just fuck them, you know, fuck them. You're the one that's having fun, you know. So that's it, man, isn't it? You're the one that's having fun.
That's the mindset that even just in general in life is fuck them. Really, I mean that's the simplest way to put it. You know, you just gotta focus on yourself, feed your mind. You know, feed your body correctly, work out, not give a shit. You know what other people think. Um, like Felipe said a couple times, it's all just trash circulating. You know, it's all just regurgitated trash that the world's pushing into our heads, and really the core of it all is what you should focus on, and you'll be a lot happier in life if you can focus on the basics of, you know, your spirituality, if that's, you know, part of you, your family, your kids, you know, yourself. It'd be life would be so much easier, so much happier too.
I said to a mate just recently who was doing it real hard in life, and I said to him that, and we were on the subject of judgment, because he's copped a lot of that, because he's you know, particularly just about financial success, because he had business problems and stuff. And I said to him, judgment from people, it's, you to think of it like a gift, because there is no better filter of who is a cunt and who is a good person than people who judge. There's no better filter. It's great, because as soon as someone judges you, you know they're a cunt. So just fuck them off out of your life. It's actually good. It's like it's like a fast line to figure people out. You know, if someone judges that, you know, judges you on anything that's gone wrong in your life, or anything at all, really, like, fuck that. And you know, one of the I think all people, you know, and a lot of it comes from your upbringing, your parents, you know, school, whatever. We start to judge others. You know, a lot of life makes us judge others, and I've been on a mission for years now to not judge people, to really make a fucking hard point not to judge people. And the people you meet and talk to and the things you find out is fucking amazing when you stop judging people.
Yeah.
The weirdest fucker, the fucking, we don't have a lot of homeless people, but, you know, someone that's really fucking down on their luck and fucked up, if you give them a chance, you know, it's fucking amazing the things you hear and the good people and the good things that you find out. You know, like, it's even how just a story about in just a business thing. The city just south of me where I do most of my business, there's this house there. It's got to be the fucking shittest looking house in the whole town, right? It's fucked, right? And when I first started marketing that town, I did a flyer drop, and not being judgy, I fucking put the flyer in that fucking letterbox. And anyway, I get a call to go to that place, and there's this fucked up house out the front, and it's just like it's like feral as fuck. And out the back is the mum of the ferals that live in there, and she lives in this little unit. She was a retired nun, and she is the nicest fucking lady of all time. She pays extra. She'll give you. She brings out cold drinks. She pays fucking straight away, and you know, and she's got fuck all, you know, and it's just like that through no judgment. And then the only lady in that town, the only customer in that town that I had to chase to pay a fucking bill for fucking months, was this woman, and she is dripping in gold and driving a Jaguar, and she's got this fucking flash house, and I had to chase her for me for fucking months. And the old lady in the fucking this hovel shithole is fucking got the cash ready, and you're not even finished the job, and she's got do you want a lemonade or a Coke, or, you know, just so yeah,
super nice lady.
You don't judge. Yeah, it's amazing. I've got quite a few stories like that, to be honest.
We could have a whole podcast just on construction work, man.
We could do. Hey, so Peter messaged me not long after we was on earlier there, You would have seen. I'm sorry, I was looking at my phone. That was why. Yeah, he didn't want to come back on and keep fucking up with his cell coverage. It's just too shitty. So hope to talk to him again at some stage. You never know. I might be able to organise something to link to this show somehow or whatever. But anyway, that's all right. But yeah, Veterans MX, definitely, check them out. Look them up and see what they do. And I was going to try and tie in a giveaway. So Guts Racing is obviously, if you follow the show, you know Guts Racing is a sponsor of the show. The world's best seat covers. RJ Hampshire, hey, he won that Supercross championship on one. And they are proud supporter of the show. What I was going to do was do a bit of a competition. I would like a vet rider or for their kids to get a free seat cover. So what I've been thinking on the fly, seeing as though we don't have Peter, is maybe if you listen to the show or you watch the show, hit me up with a who you are, any sort of just you've got to be a vet yourself, and what you ride, and just a bit about you and your family, maybe your kids' bikes. Just tell us about yourself and what you do. Tell us about how riding moto has helped you, and then I'll compile those, and Brojo and Felipe will decide who the winner is. How's that sound?
I like it. I love it.
Cool. And we'll send out a seat cover for the vet's bike or for one of their kids' bikes. Yeah, from Guts Racing. Gutsracing.com is the email to go for that. And that will be that'll be super cool. Really, really appreciative of Andy's support. And I haven't been able to get hold of Andy to confirm this, but I'm sure he'll be right with it. Worst case, if he wasn't, I'll pay for it. So, but yeah, I'm sure he'll be right with it. Yeah, dudes, we might just finish with just a few fun questions. Hey, I've kept you getting a bit late. It'll be getting late in Alabama. I'm feeling for Felipe there. So
yeah, we got work tomorrow.
That's it, man. So we just might do a couple of my fun questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Hey, here we go. Teenage crush. Who was your teenage crushes? So yeah, as we all know, I keep saying mine was Kelly Bundy. Hey, who was the poster on the wall?
Dude, we'll go Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that show? What was the show she was on?
She was the masseuse, the naughty masseuse. Recently, we saw a commercial. I forget the name.
I didn't see that. No, I remember.
Dude, she was a naughty masseuse.
Woo! Okay, I haven't seen that, but I remember Party of Five was the one I was thinking. That was that would be nearly you probably don't even remember that. That was
no.
That was that might have been it. That was sort of when she was teenager. That was probably the first big show when she got famous, I suppose. Yeah. What about you, Felipe?
Man, Kelly Kapowski, Saved by the Bell. Come on. Tiffany Amber Thiessen, yeah. But Kelly Bundy though as well. I watched the shit out of some Married with Children now. Growing up, yeah, she was hot.
Smoking,
we watched the Saved by the Bell. Really,
yeah,
yeah.
So we never got that show, but I know who you're talking about. She was what else was she in? Was she?
I mean, she's been in movies and other shows. I know that was the big one. Yeah, that was the big show. Was it Mario Lopez? He's in that one. Isn't that Mario Lopez? Yeah, Mario Lopez. Yeah. He's the Hispanic guy in there.
Yeah. Awesome. Let me think. Childhood heroes. Who's your childhood heroes?
Oh, man.
Rick Johnson for me.
Rick Johnson. Man, I will say as a child, though, for me, it was more more like Rambo and Van Damme type stuff, you
Yeah.
know. And but then I was also very attracted to the World War II stuff early on. I really looked up to a lot of the heroes, like the veterans and whatnot, and things like that. But yeah, that was for me. That was for me. I In my teenage years, I wasn't into the motocross yet. I didn't get into the motocross like the Wyndham and Laraco
Yeah.
and the whole scene until I was probably about 17 or 18 years old, just because of where I was living and how I was living.
Yeah.
And so we weren't allowed to do a lot of things the way I grew up. So
Yeah.
but yeah, Cody, you're a hero.
I don't think I had one. Like thinking back, I don't think I had like a hero, quote unquote, like idol type of figure. I mean, I was into so much stuff growing up, just running around like an idiot, So, I mean, riding dirt
Having a
bike,
good time.
having a good time, sports, dirt bikes. I mean, you could say maybe like baseball. Tim Salmon played for the Angels back in the day, number 15, I think was his number. I think he's first baseman. I wanted to be a first baseman. I was a baseball player first and foremost. You could kind of say I looked up to him, in the baseball world.
Cool. Describe who were you at high school? Describe yourself at high school. So for me, like I was I was a pretty normal kid. Wasn't popular, wasn't good at anything, except for moto. But I was very shy with girls. I couldn't talk to girls. But other than that, just a pretty normal kid. One of them kids that nobody noticed. How about you guys?
Happy-go-lucky. No day was a bad day. Just high on life. But I fucking dressed like I would belong to the metal militia. The personality in the dress code did not line up. I'm telling you right now.
So you're full Deegan. Full fucking Deegan.
Yeah, I'll find a photo and I'll send it to you guys tonight. Dude, my 18th birthday on a cruise ship, man, I look probably the only one dressed like that. Just total freaking broed out.
Shoulder spikes.
Damn near shoulder spikes. Yeah. Well, remember when they came out with the enduro motocross pants so you can unzip them into shorts?
Yeah.
Dude, I couldn't buy those fast enough. I went and bought the big skater knee pads, immediately tore off the bottom part of the motocross pants and threw them in the trash. Like, we're only riding shorts. And then those really thick, like DVS or Meta Militia tank tops. That was my motocross gear. I just missing the spiked shoulder pads.
Sounds like a good time though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, mine was very opposite. I very small school. I grew up in a very, very small town. We may have had like maybe 4,000 people in my town. So we had one high school. So I was not popular. I was the opposite of popular. I was always picked on. But I stayed in my lane. I did the welding. I did the machine shop class. I did the automotive class. I did stuff like that. That was because I worked at my dad's shop, every day after school, during the summer, all that stuff. We did a lot of drag racing, though. So I worked on a lot of engines. I got to do a lot of that kind of stuff. So for me, I thought that was a lot of fun because I was really into going fast in cars, rode motorcycles from the age of 15. I rode a motorcycle before I rode a vehicle on the highway, and so it's always been that way. And even though we weren't allowed to have dirt bikes, but yeah, we could go drag race, a 5,000-pound vehicle and hurl it down the track. But that's mom and dad for you on that one. But no, high school was good. High school was a really good time because it's looking back on it now. There's not a lot of worry. it was all you had to do was go to school, and then I had to work, but shit, we still had fun. We still had a lot of fun with friends and whatnot. We did a lot of going out riding four-wheelers and hanging out on different farms. My buddy built a track at his farm. Later on into my 20s, early 20s, I did the LBZ thing with the baggy pants and all that, had a kidney pad under, like all sorts of dumb stuff like that, like just wearing the most dumbest stuff. And so just kind of going through the fads. I do remember the Metal Militia era because 99 is when I went, 99 to 2000 is when I went to MMI in Phoenix. And so we would go out to the desert and ride in the desert. And there was Nate Adams was out there hucking it on a freaking metal ramp, just whack, yacht, just going at it. And which was really cool to see because that was the early days of the freestyle motocross. What a cool, experience to be a part of. And it was a lot of fun. And then responsibility, I guess, got in the way. Life and all that dumb shit.
Yeah. Well, what about spirit animals? What's your spirit animal? I love this question.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Probably go with a lion. Yeah. Probably a lion.
Why a lion? What makes Brojo a lion?
I mean, well, you get in your own head and you seclude yourself, that's the dark side. I'm very much like a family person, I think I thrive with the family, the wife, the kids, like we're a unit. So I don't know, I like myself to like the head lion, you're the leader of your pack, you're fearless, you're a leader, but you're loving, you're gentle, when you need to be. And then my wife, I mean, dude, I could liken us all to a spirit animal of a lion. My wife, I mean, don't fuck with her.
The lioness.
The lioness, dude, fuck you up. So yeah, I'd choose a lion, probably. Yeah.
Sweet. I like it.
That might be a tattoo in the future too. Who knows? It'd be real cliche. Get a big old lion tattoo.
Hey, everybody's doing it. Fuck them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Felipe.
I'm kind of I'm in the bear realm. Always watching out for the cubs and very protective over the cubs. Very family oriented. Just like I resonate with the lion as well. It's the thing is the bear is ferocious. I'm not as big as a bear, unfortunately, but I can be very unfriendly. I can be one of the most friendliest people in the world or whatever, but you get close to my family or encroach in that way, and it's not going to be a good day. Like, you're going to be cut off very quickly. And because to me, family is probably the number one thing, it's for me, it's God, and then it's family. So it's very, very important. So maybe I could get a lion and a bear tattoo or something at the same time.
Super animal.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I used to say I was a bear, but I think I'm actually more of a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm good when it's the right pack. I like to be with the pack, and I'm good at leading the pack. If I need to, but I don't have to. So yeah, it's just sort of. I used to say the bear. I think just because I just like bears. I reckon bears are awesome, but no, I reckon the wolf is more of a, especially that lone wolf part of it. Yeah, because sometimes I'm a person who I can do shit by myself for a long time. Like the cycle hike thing I did just recently, just out there, just on my own, just doing shit, just like totally fucking cool with it. Don't need to, didn't even want to see anyone else on the trail. I'm just fucking out here just doing me shit that I wanted to do, So yeah, cool. I love it. Hey, to close out the show, you better give me your best Aussie accents. Hey?
Oh shit.
Hey, what do we got? What do we got? You can say whatever you want.
Yes, put them on the spot.
Hey?
Oh man.
Put them
Aussie
on
accent.
the fucking
What do you-
spot.
What do you got?
What do we got? There's to me, I think it's
dude.
like the most famous one. Well, I don't know that most people know this one. The old Crocodile Dundee. That's not a fucking knife. Like he's sitting there. That's not a knife. I want him to be, but I want Croc to be a little more like Steve though, like a little more vulgar instead of being like, be like, fuck off. That's not a fucking knife. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And you got to put the word,
Oh,
you got to
man.
put the word cunt in there right away. Because like you're saying, like, hey, if this dude makes fun of me, you just know he's a cunt. And I don't know why I think it's so funny, but I think it's fucking hilarious.
Man, sheesh. I do really good with accents when I'm like mimic like a movie, but like off the top of my head, just coming up with something. I get like stage fright or whatever. But we'll be watching a movie, dude, and I'll mimic something, and Leandra will be like, "Damn, that was like almost pretty spot on." Shit, dude.
Just close your eyes. No one's here.
No, not like that kind of stage fright. Just like coming up with something and like, mind to lip like connection.
See, that's why.
Just give us a year now for sure.
It's too much fucking pressure, you bloody fucking cunt.
There you go. There we go.
There you go. That's it. Nice one. Yeah, you were both sort of, neither of you were terrible, but neither of you were great. You just sort of mid-range on the Aussie accents there. Yeah. I've had some shockers lately, and there's been some people on the show that were fucking really good as well. So, yeah.
Well, maybe if I was drinking a little bit more, or if I drank and then my tongue gets a little bit looser. Now, how about this though, Steve? We need to hear a good American impression.
All right. So what sort of like
pick a movie quote or a movie line.
I was nearly going to go
with New York.
I was nearly going to go with Arnold there because when you say movie, but he's not. He's fucking Austrian. He's not.
He's like, he's fucking German.
But that doesn't work. That's a different accent. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers.
Not bad. Okay.
Bit of Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Just thinking
Die Hard.
A little bit of Die Hard. Yeah, I don't know. Accents, I think there's definitely not my thing. I can pick the different American accents pretty good though from watching so much movies and TV.
Oh yeah.
The different ones.
The best is Southern accents. Like I always forget because Felipe lives in the South, but he's more Texas. He's Texas. So my brother-in-law lives down in Alabama, dude, and I go down there and I'll just start mimicking like his friends, and they're just like, dude, shut up. I'm like, dude, it's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Blacks. We thank you very much for joining us for Military Appreciation Show. It's the first one of them. This will definitely be a regular thing, and hopefully a regular thing with YouTube Blacks. Because if nothing else, I've had a fucking great time doing it.
Hell yeah.
And I don't know if there's a particular saying or something that you should say on Memorial Day. Is there? Like for instance, Aussies say "lest we forget." That is the what you're taught to say on our days that are similar to your Memorial Day. Do you have any? Is there any sort of saying like that sort of thing that I should say?
I would just maybe say maybe Memorial Day is for the remembrance of the fallen veterans. I've gotten people like Memorial Day, they're like, oh, thank you for your service. Thank you. Appreciate that support. But today's Memorial Day is about the brothers and sisters who fell. Veterans Day more for general veteran.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any real saying, at least that I could think of. Maybe.
Yeah.
I tip like today. I've heard a lot. Just people say Happy Memorial Day. That pisses a lot of people off. I know a lot of people that it rubs the wrong way because they're like, there's nothing happy about people dying. I mean, you can be happy and celebrate their life or whatever, but some people get offended by it. I used to get offended by it, but I don't get offended by it anymore because it's just like it is what it is. For me, I say. Never forget. Always remember, lest we forget. Because, like my platoon sergeant, he was killed in 2008, and that's a number of years ago. And it sucks. It was a weird thing. He told me he was going to die before that deployment, and I laughed. I looked him in his face, and I said, "As long as your fat ass doesn't die on a mountain somewhere, because I don't want to carry you off of it." That's the words that we had. But I escorted his body in a body bag back to a base in Afghanistan before it got sent over here. And so and I don't, if somebody else doesn't feel the way I feel about it, that's okay. About Memorial Day, that's okay. That's not a problem. That's not their experience. My experience is my experience. And for me, let's not just remember the person, let's remember the family, because the family is left behind. So whatever you do, party, drink, snort cocaine, have sex with hookers today, whatever you want to do, party, at least take a moment to remember the families that are still here that are suffering because of the loss, whether they're Aussies or they're Americans. I had a lot of good times with Aussies, working with them. They're good people. The Brits, the Aussies, all you guys are fucking amazing. And just remember, let's not forget what those men and women did. That's what it means to me, and that's what I try to impress on people.
Cool, man. I can't say any better than that. That's for sure. All right. So I think you know how I close the show. I knock out a little bit of Kenny Rogers, and I always say, if you know the words, by all means join in. But there's no pressure.
I'm a millennial, dude.
That's just what I do, bro. Joe doesn't know Kenny Rogers. That's all right, man. That's all right. So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet. And his face lost all expression. Said, if you're going to play the game, boy, you got to learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
Yeah,
that's it.
I haven't heard that shit in forever.
Thanks,
Love
man.
it.
That was fantastic. Love it when someone joins in. Brojo, Felipe, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Love you guys.
Honor.
See you later.
Honor.
Cheers.
Thank you, Steve.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.